So we have a number of videos that you have not yet seen that we're going to be putting up. So we sit down and we do these in batch. So it's good to always check back, and also it's good to know that sometimes what you're seeing isn't necessarily in sequence. So, but having said that, you have a bee in your bonnet this morning. What's got you fired up today?
Well, your opening sentence is similar to what I wanted to start with. That we have several in the hopper that haven't been posted yet, so that's great. I think there are 4 or 5, and you'll do them over every few days.
Yep.
And I can't wait because in the one of them we delineate very specifically of how to be cured, of what I've done for 80,000 cures. I'm sorry, 8,000. It's enough, not 80. 8,000 with support with the drug cyclosporin, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought that as a lasting finale comments, and please, Mr. and Mrs. be cured, because the title that I want to start today is Who is Whom in this situation? And I've gotten angry, and I think it's time to put it all out there. Okay, number one, you do not have bad eczema. Nobody does. There is no such thing. You have topical steroid addiction that appears to have eczematous features, but also looks very different. Biopsy is different. Pattern is different. Everything is different. So therefore, the come in with who's whom. The doctors who work in institutions saying there is bad eczema afoot out there, Mr. and Mrs. Drug Company, could you please come up with new drugs? Was it the drug company who said, we have some new drugs in the hopper. We think they're going to be really great. Oh, and by the way, we're going to make a fortune on this for the bad eczema people that you keep writing about. And Mr. and Mrs. America, who has a bad rash and they're incapacitated and debilitated, is with bated breath waiting for these wonder drugs to come out. And guess what? None of them have done anything. None of them have worked. Dupixent has failed at least 700 times when I've seen the patients, and many, many more have told me. They are charging a fortune. They're advertising on TV, and it's valueless. The newest is Rinvic at $73,500 a year per patient, which is exactly like Dupixent, just another company. And they've had written papers about, all you got to do is switch to our drug, Rinvic. You won't have any problems coming off Dupixent.
You won't have any problems with the transition.
Yeah, no transition problems. And please give us the $73,000 rather than the $48,000 you've been paying for Dupixent. Oh, and by the way, the insurance company stopped paying for your drug on Dupixent, but if we think we have an in, we're going to get paid. And no one has been cured. There has been no paper where anybody has been cured. Let me just give you the problems associated with these new medicines.
I still think you're doing a disservice. I really do.
In what way?
You're talking about nobody being cured, and by saying that, you're basically acknowledging that there's such a thing as chronic bad eczema.
No, they're being treated for bad eczema, and so they're being mistreated with the wrong diagnosis. Yeah, that's why. So they have the wrong diagnosis by the doctors. The doctors are so truculent and stubborn in changing, though they demeaned my work in 2015, 16, 17 with a couple of papers, but suddenly they're into TSW, topical steroid withdrawal. They've cudgeled that appellation as their own, plagiarizing me. And that's okay because they can still sell drug.
Well, Dupixent sure.
They
haven't hijacked it.
Yeah.
They want you to be.
They want you to be bad.
But I guess the reason I like to make that differentiation is, you're running around saying all this stuff. You are exposing yourself to a lawsuit by implying that it doesn't work for chronic eczema, when that's not, in fact, your argument. Your argument isn't that Dupixent doesn't work for chronic eczema.
Well, I'm saying they're putting it into patients who don't have that diagnosis.
There you have it.
Okay, that's it. Because they don't have that diagnosis.
You cannot. That's a point I don't think we can drive home enough. because we do these videos over and over and over, and I read the comments, and patient says, but Dr. Rapaport, my doctor says I have bad eczema, and they want to put me on Revoke. After they just watched the video,
right.
They said there's no damn such thing.
Right. Well, my anger has mounted significantly because the amount of complaints I get has immensely increased in the last year or two. I probably get 100 to 150 complaining patients. Please help me. Please, I beg you. Please, I'm suffering. Please, I can't function in life. Please, I'm depressed. Help me, help me, help me.
Yeah.
Every month, 100 to 150 complaint letters. I say, fine, I'm here, I'm there. You got all the information I put up for free. You've got these tapes. I'm here. They don't answer back because they might have to write a check out. Oh, the insurance won't cover it because this is telemedicine. Well, what more can I do? We're trying our very, very best with everything that I've done for free for 40 years.
Well, and you're doing with these videos.
Yeah.
You're giving the answer in the videos.
Yeah. Plus you are giving your time and your expertise, and you are cured. And I suspect that you want to give back to those who aren't and say, look, this is what you do. It's that easy, though it takes a long time. You'll be cured, period.
And you've got your list of people who are scamming, and I appreciate that. We'll go through that. But the basic premise is just stop using steroids.
Stop. The diagnosis is steroid addiction. What's the cure for an addiction? You stop the addicting medicine. You stop the amphetamine. You stop the opioid. You stop the alcohol. And then we help you get through this. That's what we're doing here. You stop the steroids and we help you get through it. And there are gradations of getting you through it, from mild support, sleep, anti-itch, psychotherapy, to major support, cyclosporin, because you're not functioning and you're suicidal.
Which may change throughout the withdrawal, right?
Yeah. And we hit on cyclosporin. Yep. It was the safest. Yep. It has proven itself over 15 years with 900 cured patients, period.
So just to set this up, your list of people who are, shall we say, patients, they're them in two ways. One of the buckets, I guess, is people who are adding therapies or cures to patients who are continuing to use steroids. So you continue to use steroids, you do X, Y, Z, and you're going to be cured. That's your first bucket.
Absolutely.
Your second bucket is people who have heard this nutty guy named Dr. Rapaport. I've seen the videos. I'm going to go off steroids, and now I'm exhibiting all of these problems as a part of my withdrawal. Here's a bucket of people that have solutions that help you through that, right?
Okay.
Falsely.
Yes.
The gluten-free people, the cap therapy people, the whatever.
Leaky gut people, acupuncture.
The no, quit drinking water, all that stuff. All right, so go ahead.
And then I get so angry because of the prices of the new drugs that don't work, and they still are charging them. Let me read them. Again, if I may.
It's not that they don't work. They're for not the diagnosis.
Right, wrong diagnosis, but they're still selling them. And they're advertising on 6 o'clock news, national news. It must cost $1 million. Dupixent goes for $48,000 a year per patient. Crisaborol, $9,000 a year. Simbinq, $133,600 a year. Rinvoq, $73,500 a year. Opzelura, $40,000 a year. Adbry, $106,000 a year. Otezla, $72,000 a year. Those are outrageous numbers.
Now, can you look our viewers in the eye and tell us to what extent you read the studies on those who were on top of steroids during the study period for the approval?
Yeah, very good point. None of the patients who were in the studies that were donated by their doctors at Mount Sinai, at Oregon, at St. Louis, at every institution, coupled with 20 other doctors who donated their patients from who knows where all over the world and got paid well for it. They were not bad eczema. They were steroid addicted people. Every one of them, I am certain of, because there is no such thing as bad eczema. because eczema burns out from age 5 to 7. Period.
So this opens up the door for observed improvement by usage of these drugs, because people who are chronically taking eczema cycle, right? And are we attributing the benefit of the drug to part of the cycle of them just using steroids?
Well, I forgot that there's another notch in the. I'm getting paranoid now. I forgot the notch.
You paranoid?
Yeah, me? So let me tell you the worst notch. So the paper gets presented to the Derm and Medical Journal and instantly published with wrong information, with criteria such as only helps sleep a little bit, helps itch a little bit, and it gets published. Those are subjective complaints. That is not the way studies are done. That is not the way papers are done. And every one of those study patients were allowed to continue using steroids. Second drug.
Not allowed, encouraged
to use.
And slept a little bit better, a little less itch.
That's it.
For 39% of them.
Yes.
That's the other thing that just continues to.
We laugh. You and I have laughed over this repeatedly, but they're making a fortune. That is.
Well,
so the journals are into it also because they're getting 5 to 10 page ads every month by these drug companies.
This is not relegated to this little corner of the medical world, right? I mean, this is happening just
rampant.
With,
it's rampant.
With all of the statins and all of this other nonsense that's happening, right?
Overkill. Use my drugs. My drug is better than their drug. I'm expensive, but I'm good. Let me tell you the side effects of the new drugs. I wrote this down. Problems associated with many of the new drugs. Observed. Learning disability, psychiatric problems, dementia, depression, thromboembolism, staph infection, food allergy, inability to concentrate, and mostly worrying about infections and problems. Who needs that?
Where's conjunctivitis?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Conjunctivitis with Dupixent, and it'll probably happen with Rinvoq also.
And then we use ocular steroids.
We use steroids.
You're on Dupixent. You're using ocular.
We should not be haughty and glib, but these patients who have conjunctivitis, they don't stop having conjunctivitis for 6 to 10 months after they stop the drug. They're not happy people, and they stop the drug.
Possible for that.
They can't see. Their conjunctivitis continual.
But I wasn't aware that it can last that long.
Say it again.
I wasn't aware that it could last that long.
Yes, very long period of time. That's unheard of.
It's not a pretty condition to have.
No, and their rash is no better. And their doctors are being told they might have to be on it for life, and that's what they relate to the patients.
Well, that's kind of the other part of the deal, right? Maybe you're not working on Dupixent. Let's put you on Rinvoq.
We have a whole host. We'll try this one. In fact, we'll try that one. We'll try that one.
And didn't you come up with a study last week that basically measured the effects of going from one drug to another?
One. I couldn't believe that the journal would publish this. But Rinvoq had switched people off of Dupixent onto them. They obviously got guinea pigs and doctors who were being paid. And they say, no problem doing that. So we want you to buy our drug. Don't buy their drug anymore. But it's the same thing, but buy us. Give us the money.
The sad hysteria of that anecdote, though, is that by definition, we're saying drug A isn't working. We're going to put you on drug B, but yet drug A still has millions of dollars worth of advertisements to solve all your problems. Yeah. But if it doesn't, you can go try this.
But the medical journal published this nonsense article. It's like company versus company. We're not in medicine to do that. We're in there to help patients, not to sell drug. And the journals are doing it. They have their axe to grind to make their money with advertising pages. So around and round and round, and you and I delineated exactly how to cure the patients 2 or 3 tapes ago. When this one appears, we'll have been up. Yeah. Everyone's cured. Easy as pie. And still, around the world, they still give steroids, and they're going to try all the new ones because either they're influenced by the ads maybe influenced by the representative who comes from the company to their office with lunches, with dinners, who knows? I'm not sure of what goes on. And they're still invited. You can still continue using steroids. It's okay. Well, they're never going to get better. They have patients who can be on the drug for 2, 3, 5, 20 years because they never get better.
I know I'm being repetitive, but it still just blows my mind that Dupixent in their printed material says, do not go off steroids without coordinating with your doctor. But then you pick up the package that the Dupixent's telling you not to go off of, and the package says don't use for more than 10 days. The steroid manufacturers are saying, hey, this is heavy duty stuff, 10 days and then you're out. So we've got conflicting messages with the people that are wanting to keep us drug. And I got to come down and I've got to come down on the steroid people, the steroid manufacturers being the good guys.
Would we ever allow an alcoholic to have one sip of one drink? They're off forever.
Yeah.
They're addicted. You cannot sniff it even. You'll be tempted to take it. You're steroid addicted. You cannot sniff steroids anymore. The body reminisces. You have no control. The blood vessels reminisce and they flare up and get red again with one little dose. Don't you understand that? Eczema never looked like that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So therein lies both of our angers. And we hope that the message gets across. But we're getting frustrated also because we see no magical shift in the population beliefs.
You don't see it. I see it. I mean, I see it with Select Health, not reimbursing for some of the pharmaceutical injectable drugs. I see it now with the steroidal warnings on all of the drugs. I think your expectations of urgency are a little different than what we're seeing, but it's happening.
Okay, but again, I'm not trying to one-up you, but when I get a letter, I have 2 sitting in my computer that I didn't answer this morning, bitterly complaining they're suicidal, they're depressed, and they're asking for me to help them come out of it.
Well, no, that's why we're doing the tapes, so that people can be exposed to this and loved ones can send them the recordings and all that.
Okay, but
I mean, we said, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I look at the TikTok and YouTube videos of people suffering, 100, 200, 300 comments. None of them mention steroid addiction. None of them. It's I've got chronic eczema. I'm miserable. Go to the emergency room, get a shot of Kenlock. I see it.
I know, and I'm so used to being in the office. I walk into the room. I assess the problem through history and examination. I prescribe appropriately, and they're better tonight. Well, I assume the same thing here. We make a tape, 10 people are going to be cured by tonight. Doesn't happen that way. No. Of course.
The people that know, or even generally familiar with the concept of steroid addiction, is a very, very small group. And even of that small group, they're still playing around with some of these nonsense therapies. And I'm not bemoaning them. I mean, you got to do what makes you feel better. But don't attribute it to drinking green smoothies, your improvement.
I'll have to close on a positive note. I was so pleased. I've been taking care of from afar a woman who is on cyclosporin because she had a terrible time. She's in her late 30s and she's pregnant. And I had great concern, though I have taken care of and seen 2 women who were pregnant on the drug and nothing happened. But I worry. That's my nature. And she went to a specialist in high-risk pregnancy. She's in her first trimester. And she just wrote to me last night and said that he did research on tacrolimus and cyclosporin and pregnancy. He read all about it. He read papers. He looked into it. What a pleasurable physician to deal with. He cared about this woman in anticipation of the visit coming up. So he was apprised of what she was going to be coming in for. She saw him on Wednesday, 2 days ago. What a pleasure that there are doctors out there who do their job and who care and are interested in new ideas. He had never heard of this before. And she was reassured. People who were pregnant, he's seen patients and others who were on this kind of drug. Tacrolimus and cyclosporin has been around for 50 years. And no problem with the pregnancy. And long term, my concern, 10 years, 20 years, who knows what will happen to the child. Well, nobody has written any papers about that. That's just my, shakiness about worries about drugs in long term. And there's been no paper. There's been no problem. So the worry was for naught, but what a pleasure. A doctor who cares and delved into it and learned something. And the patient was reassured. She was so happy writing to me last night that she's going to be okay. She's going to stay on the steroids, bad mouth. She'll stay on the cyclosporin through the pregnancy and she'll be safe. He was worried about her terrible ordeal of not being on cyclosporin and the hell that she goes through. And he didn't want that embryo to be akin to something like that. And I'm sure there's a little bit of, that the woman has to be in good shape and happy and pleasant, and that spills over to the embryo. I'm not so sure that that's physiological and it's all hearsay, but we'll take whatever we can get. Of course, I want her to have a good time being pregnant and to have a wonderful, healthy child.
Well, but isn't part of the wonderment of this story that the woman got pregnant? She's feeling so functional on cyclosporine. How'd she get pregnant?
Well, she's 37, so she had put her eggs away, saving them. But she got pregnant naturally.
Isn't that incredible?
Incredible. It's almost like the gate
that's,
opened up and it was okay.
It's like I'm feeling so good. I'm so relaxed. But
Well,
37, I got pregnant conventionally.
Well, you hear that all the time. They can't get pregnant. They adopt a child, and then after the child is adopted, they get pregnant.
Because they finally just said.
It seems, who knows what the answer, who knows.
It's an amazing story.
Yeah.
It is an amazing story.
Yeah. We want the best and the safest for everybody, and that's why you study medicine, and you're there to help them through it when there's a problem. And I want this problem solved.
All right. So your list of the people that are doing we didn't get into the gluten-free people and the gut leaking and all that. But people that stop taking steroids, just stop. And whether they use you or contact you to help them with their symptoms and with the withdrawal, or they don't, how are they going to be in 3 to 5 years?
Well, all you got to do is
nothing.
All you got to do is hide in the corner and stop the steroids. It takes 3 to 5 years.
And
you
what?
suffer.
And then what?
Well, you suffer. You'll be cured.
You'll be cured.
There are people who write in, 10 years later, I stopped on my own. I stopped the steroids. It took me a long time, but I'm doing perfectly fine now. They suffered. I'm sad. I would rather they didn't, and I can help you through this. But all they do is stop. The diagnosis is steroid addiction. You stop the culprit chemical. Goodbye, addiction. 1 week, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. Finally, it stops. But I don't want people to suffer. We have ways of handling it. But who knows what their answer is. They're tired of doctors. They're angry at doctors. They don't have insurance. They don't have money. Whatever. But all you got to do is stop the culprit. Period. Well, you can't stop bad eczema and still take steroids. The bad eczema keeps on going because it's not bad eczema.
Right.
It's steroid addiction.
Yeah, it's chronic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it.
John, as always, you ask the right questions, and I hope our message. There will be a gusher. We'll get responses from 1 million people that say, I am cured, I'm going to my doctor. All my doctors have changed. They all believe what you say. I'm on this drug and this drug, and I'm on cyclosporin, and I'm on my way to triumphal
normalcy. Well, and our viewers, by sharing these videos and hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel, really just does help us push us up in the algorithm. So that when people get on YouTube and they key in chronic eczema, they're going to see you raving and ranting that they don't have chronic eczema, and then it's good news.
Yeah.
It's good news.
Okay.
All right.
The way I think, 1 more day. The way you think, takes time.
It takes time.
Takes time.
You're
much more logical and sane. You should run for office.
No. This is an evolution, not a revolution.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
shift in mindset.
Okay.
All right, good. Until next time, like, share, subscribe.